Hi, everybody. Welcome to Subconscious Sundays. I am your co host, April Kling Meyer, Reverend April Kling Meyer. And with me, as always, is my very favorite person in the universe, my lifelong friend and companion, and talented hypnotherapist, Timothy Freeman. Hi, Tim.
Thank you. Hi. Welcome, everybody.
Welcome. So today our topic is pretty popular. Got a lot of commentary on Facebook this week. Dramarama. So I forgot to add the question. So Tim, riff on that for a minute while I add that little question in from Facebook.
Yeah, sure. So we determine our topics in advance, and as we've mentioned, it seems every time we choose a topic to discuss and explore, we invite it right into our lives and for the very best learning experience on a personal level for us. So we'll get into Dramarama and maybe even why we kind of called it that too. To me, we'll get into what April has a lot of really good stuff to say about this, but to me, drama is kind of an a little emotional emergency, a little
Yep.
where your emotions get out of control, right?
Right. I'd have to agree with you there, Tim. Defining drama is I mean it's a bit controversial, if I'm being honest.
Yes.
Because first of all, the commentary, there was no real disagreements or anything. It's just people had a lot to say and it was multifaceted. And we've had a few topics like this one, but not nearly quite as much as this one did. I had to edit quite a bit of what was shared, not for any content, but certainly for volume. It was a lot. So if you're tuning in today and you're looking for what you said, I wasn't able to include the entire paragraph in most cases. I was able to include like one or two of your 8 to 12 sentences on the topic. So yeah, people were like submitting their essays on this one. But before I dive into that, let's go over the rules and regs, the intention setting of what we are here to do, which is to establish a fun and entertaining and laid back way to discuss potentially serious and heavy topics while we remain open and inviting, welcoming to those who have questions or ideas to respectfully bring those to the conversation.
Yes, and this is our weekly ritual with you all who are joining us to gather our shared knowledge and shared community in a virtual sacred space while hearing your response. And we have a few core values. The first would be respectful of everybody's individual journey. April?
Rooted in compassion for ourselves and others.
Excellent. And promoting growth and expansion.
While creating a supportive community. We're getting better and better at that. At least today we didn't forget. I almost just zoomed right through it. I almost completely forgot to do that. So, but intention setting is important. And that was one of the main things we aim to do every time we sit down for this. And thank you for joining us once again. So without further ado, the question on Facebook is, what do you do to avoid or reduce drama in your life? And I'll just start. I'll start with the whole spectrum. I kind of went from one end of the spectrum to the other end of the spectrum. There was a clear spectrum of thought around this, and I hope I did this in the right order. But one of my favorites, smile at it. That's kind of the Zen approach. And given Sarah, the person who submitted that one, Sarah is definitely a Zen master of a spiritual practitioner herself. So that's pretty aspirational. To just smile at the drama, which is it's lovely to think about. I wish I were better about just smiling at my drama.
Well, I have something to add here. My teacher calls this sort of technique laughing at the absurdity. Like sometimes if you look up the dictionary definition of absurd, sometimes the conditions that we're in that cause drama are just absurd, and it might just be best to laugh at the absurdity in some cases.
Right. Like, okay, I think I do an actually pretty good job of laughing at myself and laughing at my situation, especially with you involved. If I'm talking to you, it's a lot easier to laugh at myself.
Well, and humor, we understand it to be sort of like a deeper understanding anyway. So if there's a situation that you can find some humor in, we've expanded our understanding of that situation in a way and can develop a deeper understanding of it. So
Right.
it's.
Yeah. It's it's nice if you can do it. It's nice if you can do it.
Right.
Yeah. So Cheyenne says, I don't put a lot of expectations on others. That's a good measure of it's a good way to be. I stay busy with my projects with like-minded folks that create, and I am selective on whom I spend time with. Oh, we got a lot of that. That will be what I am. So I really like what everybody has to say here. And I have to say that nobody gave a wrong answer here. And this is certainly a very good way to be. And I would say this is probably the closest to how I behave and how I think about drama. So we will hold on to that because what Cheyenne is saying is exactly it's exactly my tactic. So that's probably why I like it so much. Nikki says, face it head on instead of letting it get bigger. Yep. I will be talking more about that. Peacefully walk away from family members who are willfully stuck in the low vibes of conditional love. Now, Bear said family members, but really this could apply to anybody who is like stuck in low vibes, which it's kind of how you define it, what that means. But in this instance, there's the idea of conditional love of like there being some sort of like scorekeeping or there being some sort of way that like it's tit for tat. Like martyrdom is like really prominent to me in this answer. Like this idea that people who like do things for you and expect for some sort of exchange in return, it's low vibe stuff, right? There's no pure generosity there. There's no pure just acceptance of who one is or how things are. It's just all conditional. That tends to be ripe um, for drama. I would agree. Jeff says in the answer of how to avoid or reduce drama, he says very little. Like, I think Jeff is one of those people who's kind of like based on his response to the question of like control and balance, that previous episode, it's sort of like Jeff's pretty much an acknowledgement that he's not in a whole lot of control of how much drama is coming into his life, which there's a wisdom to that. Like, we're going to have drama no matter what we do. Like, we try to reduce it, try to control it, it will still find us. And we'll talk about that in a moment. Anne Marie says, not enough. My self-love is all out of whack and it's affecting everything. Icky. Shameless plug time. I feel a little bad because I like immediately responded to Anne Marie, like, there's a workbook for that. And then I realized that was a pretty shitty response on my part. Like, I should be plugging my book to my friends when they admit that they're going through a struggle. But I did just finish day 28 today on the Venus Cassini. Pretty excited about that. And really, that's what this book is about, is about self-love. So yes, there is a workbook for that. Sorry, Anne Marie. I know you're going through a lot, and I'm always here for you, and you know that if you're watching.
But good stuff though here, April, and
There's
it
tools.
will stir up the things you need to pay attention to as well.
Right. And
Right.
the book is basically just journaling prompts. Journaling will help. Journaling will help. Jen is quoting something. She wasn't clear on what she was quoting, but it's a pretty good little bit of wisdom there. Listen, understand, respond, don't react. Genuine curiosity, which is I'm huge on. Emphasis on genuine goes a long way with most people and can disarm a heat-seeking missile. Great stuff. Another mention of listening, but not passing on gossip. I would go even deeper here and say avoiding triangulation. Fran didn't say that, but I have been learning so much about drama dynamics. I will talk about this shortly, but avoiding triangulation, meaning like dialing and dealing direct, which is coming. Hold up. Um, which Nikki already said, actually. Claudia says, my mom, avoid when possible, but if unavoidable, respond with empathy. My experience is that most people just want to be heard. My mom is she's not a spiritual practitioner, but she is a certified counselor and she is also a highly spiritual woman. So I would trust the heck out of those words. Bryce says something similar to Nikki. I've learned to avoid issues that cause drama is to run and hide from problems, be it those of others or my own. Therefore, I meet these challenges head on and work to diffuse them. So Bryce and I got into a conversation from there. And what I kind of said to Bryce, and I'll just repeat it here in a moment, is that if we avoid a certain conflict, if we avoid any kind of problems, we're going to be presented with them again later in some other situation, be it the same person or a different person or the same, same exact situation with different characters. It's basically here to teach us a particular lesson. And until we get the lesson, we're going to repeat we're going to repeat it. We're going to repeat it until we get it. So that's kind of a big takeaway. I'm already getting out of the way while knocking these comments out. Avoid people. I'm really going to go on my soapbox about this. I love Jill. She is fantastic. And I know she's kind of kidding, but
kind of.
I have some stuff to say about that. And it's nothing on Jill at all. It has a lot to do with like society. So we'll get there in a second. Erin says something similar, interact with less and less people each passing day. I have a lot to say about that. Christy says, I try to stay away from people that I know start it. My energy is too precious to give into drama. Colleen says, stay away from the news. That's going to touch upon some stuff I'm about to say. Jack says, retreat ever inward. LOL. I carry a book of matches just for bridges. Jack's a sweetheart. He says, on a more serious note, he was kidding. I'm trying to remind myself of who I was when I was a child. I had no friends and discern what that child actually cared about and what his intentions were. So inner child work. Everything else is someone else's ego trip. Usually Jack gets it. So then James here. Thank you, James. Glad you're here today. Trying to get your comment up there. Try and notice it, realize that feelings are inevitable when it's about challenging situations, and remembering to be self-compassionate, which is hard. It is hard. We agree with you there. So I think we kind of get the point that we need to face these challenges. We need to face our problems. We need to face our issues. We need to face drama, face it forward, face first. We need to really be able to hold the tension, as we called it in seminary. We need to be able to become very gifted in conflict resolution as people. We need to work on that as individuals. And it's something that I am learning an awful lot about. I'm about to go get a master's degree, which is why we're winding up this season at the end of August, so that I can start school in September and get a master's degree in international peace studies and conflict resolution, because I truly feel that we need to, as people, get better at holding the tension and dealing with conflicts. This is something I'm noticing. I'm noticing a trend in these comments. I'm noticing a trend in my own feed. I'm noticing the glorification and romanticization of isolation. I'm starting to see more and more of this, and believe me, I'm way into like cottage core. I literally live in a cottage in the mountains in Ireland. I'm starting to see this trend of like cottage core and stuff like that, but I'm starting to see it like I'm this fairy princess alone in the woods who eats people who cross me kind of energy. Like, that's fun and funny to like think about like folklore and get back to our roots through these stories and things like that. But I'm kind of also seeing this trend while this like being alone. I just feel cozy and alone in my precious little pretty room in my, dressing up for myself. Lovely. It's great that we're all learning to be better at being alone. But if we're glorifying isolation because we are being drama avoidant or conflict avoidant, we're not really doing ourselves any favors. If we're diving into these urges to stay away from drama by avoiding relationships, we're actually doing ourselves quite a bit of harm. And I'm also seeing this other larger trend. Tim and I have talked about this at length offline about finding all of these toxic traits in other people, about all these checklists on whether or not your dearest and closest loved ones and partners and relationships are narcissists or pathologizing ourselves, especially among neurodivergent such as myself, and like trying to name off all of these things that we do, these tendencies, these traits as things that like are inherent to our conditions, which further isolate us from other people unless we try to work a little bit against that, try to heal from that, try to be better as people, and rather using it as an excuse to avoid others, like with social anxiety or introversion, trying to really kind of silo ourselves as this type of human being that doesn't interact with others, and also projecting these pathologies onto others, that they're narcissists, that they're BPD, that they're this and that, and we're all like trying to diagnose ourselves and other people further and further and further inward and further away from others, and most definitely trying to break us away from intimacy with other people. And also, in a way, keeping us from being intimate with ourselves, because it is through other people that we get to know ourselves. It is through the behavior that we witness that we turn back around as mirrors to ourselves that help us build that intimacy with others and ourselves. We're not going to be able to do that by avoiding people and avoiding drama. We're only going to be able to do that by facing it head on. I actually agree with James and Colleen both saying avoid TV, avoid news and radio, only engage on my terms, like on a website. I'm seeing this sincere need for us to develop conflict resolution skills and develop self and other intimacy so that we are better able to organize communities around our own survival instincts and around our own need for others to continue to survive as humanity. I am not seeing anything on my feed right now that is encouraging us to form community around our needs and to really like see behaviors and drama as potential to grow, so much as I'm seeing all of these reasons to label people as toxic, label people as narcissistic, label people as somebody we're supposed to avoid and stay away from. I can tell you right now, if you are looking for a reason to label someone or someone's behavior or something someone's done as narcissistic, you will find the evidence rather readily. If you want to label people, if that is what you want to do, but I recommend that we just get better at setting boundaries for ourselves and being more vocal and communicative about what behaviors we will and will not accept from other people and act accordingly. There's no need to label others. There's no need to pathologize. And there's definitely no need to be drama avoidant in general. Now, I think it's important that we avoid drama. And I definitely agree that there are definitely people out there that stir it up. I also promised Tim I would make this point, mostly on my own behalf, but I got called dramatic a lot growing up. And Tim, as my witness, we've been friends since we were little children. I'm not the kind of person who stirs up a lot of drama. I'm just really expressive of my emotions. And I think that people kind of tended to label me as somebody who causes a lot of problems when really I was just reacting to a lot of the problems that were happening around me and to me. And so I think that that is kind of a microcosm of something that I'm starting to see on a larger scale. And that is, we tend to label the people who call things out as the troublemakers when really they're actually just naming the troubles we need to be facing. And I think that's just something we need to be better about noticing. And in order to really see people for what they are, I think it's also important to understand what's referred to as the drama triad or the drama triangle, which is something we talk about on these episodes a lot. And there's no signs of stopping. We talked before about the idea of the hero. That was last week. Several weeks ago, we talked about the idea of victimhood and martyrdom. Coming up soon, we'll be talking about the villain, which is the third of the triad. Anytime we find ourselves in a drama dynamic, we are self identifying as one of those three: the hero, the villain, or the victim. And whoever else is in the conflict, we're labeling with one of those roles as well. If we're in a triangulation dynamic, we're giving one of those roles to all three people in the scenario. Usually two people labeling themselves as the hero, or one as the hero and the other as the victim, and that triangulated third person is the villain. We can do that so easily because the drama triad is the identification of the ego. So, when we talked in a previous episode about identity and self, we must remember to watch that tendency to label others as villains, narcissists, label ourselves as victims, label ourselves as heroes, and get away from that tendency to label anybody or anything as anything. Get away from that tendency to like triangulate as well, like going over to others and saying like, I don't like this person because they blah 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 blah. You know, dealing with our issues face forward, head on, dealing with the villain by saying, look, I don't find that behavior acceptable, and if you do things like that, I will blank. I will give you some space. I will not speak to you for a while. I will stop coming to your parties, etc., etc. We need to be aware that anytime we are in hero, victim, villain, that we are in identification with the ego, and we need to step back. Tim, as you told me yesterday, take a beat, breathe in and out, maybe meditate for a minute, pray. If you're into that, I'm into that. I'm real into that. And just go into that higher self, go into that deeper self. I think the trend is to say that favorite self instead of higher self. Go into that favorite self, going into that divine self, and say, I know what I need to protect myself in this dynamic. I know what I want out of this dynamic, and vocalize that to whomever can do that for you or stop doing that to you. To me, if we're able to approach drama with this type of interaction, we will not feel so isolated, not feel this need to be so isolated, and we will learn so much more about ourselves. We will grow so much more, and we will build intimacy with ourselves and others. Conflict provides us these opportunities. Whether or not we turn that into drama is entirely up to us. It's not always up to us if somebody else turns it into drama, but in that respect, go back to what it was that Sarah said, which was smile at it.
Well, and Claudia
And
too.
Claudia, yeah, respond
I
with
think that's
empathy.
really important.
People just want to be heard. And you're not going to escape sometimes when somebody wants to triangulate against you. Like going to be times when a whole group of people will get together and talk about you behind my back. Oh, your back, and in the group chat or whatever, or exclude you from like being able to defend yourself. It's the hardest work you may ever do in your life, but you have to learn to go into that divine self and not identify with that drama triad, and be able to build that intimacy with yourself, know yourself, grow those muscles around your own self-love and self-respect, so that you know who you are and that sort of thing won't affect you as much. And smile at it, listen to it, evaluate it from that perspective of that divine inner self. That's it. That's my soapbox.
Yeah, that's great, April. I mean, I really like a lot of these points, and this you discussed some things that that you and I hadn't talked about. So that was interesting to get. It, most importantly, I think where you're talking about this ego identification piece with the triad and how we can step back, because I think the way I boil this down, subconsciously, when we are in drama. We're in a drama situation, which I think is just sort of an emotional, out of control. Emotions are out of control, right? I
Mm-hmm.
think it boils down to a couple things, like we're not getting a need met ourselves.
Yes.
And so we're trying to ineffectively, probably the wrong strategy, but whatever we've got going on, we're trying to get that need met and express that in some way. And here's the issue that we talked about too, that I think is really important too. I just wanted to make sure we made this point.
Yeah.
It's this concept of stressors stacking up for us, and we just
Oh,
live in a
yeah.
world where, like, you just sometimes you go through phases and it's like smooth sailing. Sometimes you go through phases where you've got not this stressful thing, but this stressful thing, and then this stressful thing, and then someone comes along and says something, and that's the straw that breaks the camel's back for
Yeah.
us. And so it's about resiliency and resourcefulness. And when we're in an emotionally heightened state like that, our forebrain, our higher functioning, kind of shuts down. We don't get to we don't get to really pull once we've crossed that threshold and we're in the emotional outburst. It's too strong, unless we're really cultivating a way to pull back from that. So I think it's a little preventative here. And also just realize if you've got these stacked stressors, um, they're probably like an unmet need here, an unmet need here, and looking at what needs are unmet, how to try to meet them. But also, realize that our resiliency goes way down when we've got this many things. And this eighth thing that gets stacked on top might not be a big deal if it was the one thing. But because it's
Yeah.
eight things stacked on top, it sends it over the edge, right? The stick of dynamite, we called it yesterday.
Right. And the temptation to go into the martyrdom with the way that these things get stacked too is
Yeah.
really strong, because we get brownie points for being able to handle whatever life throws at us and be a martyr. So we really have to be honest with ourselves, like, what can we take out of this stack really? And it goes back to kind of something I said earlier about just being able to communicate your needs and set your boundaries and establish what it is you were willing to and not to tolerate, to the people who can do something about it. And then there's those stressors that you can do absolutely nothing about. Like, I think that we would be ridiculously silly to not mention the fact that you live in Hawaii and there's been a disaster in Maui this week, and you don't live there, but it is always on your mind as somebody who is very sensitive to the needs of the local people. And that it's one of those things in your stack right now, and in the stack of everyone around you, that you can do absolutely nothing about. Well, very little about, right? It's really just about response at this point, and prevention from another, where you live there. But there's only so much you could do within that stack,
Right.
right?
Right.
But then there's other things that you have to go, okay, I can't deal with that anymore. I have to like punt it off to someone else. I have to delegate, or I have to just say no, or I have to be really honest with myself and say that this isn't serving me any longer. And I have to exit this dynamic, or I have to exit this relationship, or I have to
Well, and that's
take
interesting
a
too,
break.
because that circles back to initially the isolation piece that we were talking about, and I kind of
Sure
view
does.
that as um, I I kind of view that it can be viewed as a healthy distractor. If there's not a way we can get a need met or even recognize what that need is in the situation, sometimes if there's no way to deal with that issue head on, as a healthy distractor, realizing it's not the solution, pulling out can be beneficial, but you have to realize it's not the solution,
Right.
right? Um,
Right. Coming back to it when you have less on your stack,
That's
taking a
right.
break.
Or when you've built some resiliency and built some reserves to handle all those stressors from a higher perspective where you're seeing that there's an unmet need for yourself or someone else in the situation. And you can kind of get to that, right?
Right. All of this requiring a tremendous amount of self awareness. And all of this requiring an intimacy with the subconscious. I feel like dream work is really honest with us about this sort of thing. I feel like dream work is extremely honest with us about like labeling the layers, telling us what our stressors really are, identifying what it is that's really bothering us. When we have a nightmare, we're being told some really important information about where we're at emotionally in our lives and what specifically is causing that for us.
I'm really glad you brought that up too, April, because I was initially thinking for our hypnotic meditation today, I was going to try to do this complicated, elaborate thing and have us try to really identify and label these layers of stress for ourselves. That's the deeper work that you and I do one on one with people with dream work and hypnosis, and it really needs that. It really needs that individualized depth into those specific factors. Um, but dream work, hypnosis, developing an intimacy with your subconscious mind here can have those unmet needs become clearer for you and the way forward to communicate those needs clearer for you. And, um, we invite you to work with us if that's something you're looking to explore. But is it time for our hypnotic meditation for today? Do we have anything else, any other points that we're
It
missing here
certainly is.
on? Okay.
I
This
think
is
we've pretty
this
much
has been
covered it, but we
yeah,
knew
this
we
is a
would take
big
up a lot
another
of space today.
yes. Well, and Dramarama, we have to I want to circle back one more time too. Part of the name of this, it's like kind of a little play on the pejorative drama, like drama queen. Like, when we are labeling someone else, like their drama, I don't want to be any part of it. Sometimes it's absolutely true, but it's kind of a play on a dramarama, right? But here's the reality. Yeah, right. The reality is, like, there's very few people who are entirely immune to what we would call drama in our lives, right? It's something we
I don't think
all
anybody
deal with.
is.
Right. Everybody's their emotions are going to get out of control. It might be inwardly focused drama. Um,
Hmm.
but often what
I'm
we're
guilty
talking
of
about is
that.
outward. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So, if you'd like to join us for a hypnotic meditation, I'm going to keep it short and simple today because I think we need more tools that we have right at our fingertips so that when we're recognizing that we're getting to that edge, that threshold of our emotions getting beyond our control, we've got some quick techniques we can lean on. And of course, the more you practice these, the better you get at them, and the more intimacy you develop between your conscious and your subconscious mind, the quicker these tools come through when you need them. So go ahead and relax into a comfortable position, seated or lying down, and uncross your legs, uncross your arms. Get into a really comfortable position where you can relax completely for just a few minutes. And as you start relaxing into the surface beneath you, start paying attention to your breath and just start a slow rate of breathing. Comfortable, slow rate of breathing. And by slowing down your breathing now with a really long exhalation, you're sending a signal to your body that now is the time to relax. And if you've closed your eyes, go ahead and open them now. Find a spot on the wall or the ceiling above your natural eye gaze. Really focus in on that spot. Focus in as intently as you can and look at every last little detail. And as you breathe in, focus in even further on that spot. And as you breathe out now, look through that spot, noticing the corners of the room. And when you're ready, close your eyes. And as you bring your attention back to the sensation of the surface beneath you, you go even more deeply, even more comfortably relaxed, comfortable, slow rate of breathing with a really long exhalation. Relax your face, relax your jaw, relax your shoulders, sinking deeper and deeper, more comfortably relaxed. Nothing to do right now. Just follow my instructions. And send a wave of relaxation from the top of your head all the way to the bottom of your feet. 1, 2, 3. Now start to take your awareness down into the earth as you focus on that sensation of gravity supporting you, gently pushing up into your back. You take your awareness down, down, down to the very center of the earth, all the way down, connected, grounded, secure. And go ahead and bring your awareness back up with you, bringing some of that nourishing energy from the earth, and send your awareness up, up, up to the very center of the universe, as far out and upward as you want to go, to the very center of the universe, the realm of inspiration, insight, and call in your higher power, whatever that is for you. Know that you and your environment are surrounded by love. Bring your awareness back down into your body and allow that nourishing, grounded energy of the earth and divine, inspired energy of the heavens to commingle in the balance point of your heart. And as your awareness fades, you go even more deeply, even more comfortably relaxed. Now relax your tongue. Let your tongue relax as much as possible now. And what you're doing here, very valuable, you're decoupling your tongue from the part of your mind preparing to speak. Know by doing this, we can create a bit of a parasympathetic response. And if we've ever been in a situation where we've said something we wished we might not have said, you now have a tool, very simple, easy to remember, repeatable. Relax your tongue entirely. When you get into a situation, we might call this biting your tongue. We're going to take that down a notch and just relax your tongue. Decoupling your tongue from the part of your mind preparing to speak. will allow you to listen more deeply, both to yourself, your subconscious mind, and to others around you. So when you're in a situation where it's not in your best interest to speak at that time, and you would rather listen more deeply to your own subconscious mind, to yourself, or to others, just relax your tongue. You might find as I'm speaking, your tongue is starting to become unrelaxed. Go ahead and relax it now. Relax your tongue completely. And I'd like for you to now to imagine a color that represents harmony, peace, and tranquility. So as you're imagining that color now, send another wave of relaxation all the way from the top of your head to the bottom of your toes. 1, 2, 3. This color that represents peace and harmony, whatever comes to mind is exactly right. I want you to breathe in this color now. Breathe in this color and imagine that it is infusing every muscle, cell, and nerve of your body. I want you to remember this color that represents harmony and peace. And with the power of your mind, take your awareness to a situation recently that you might consider drama, where your emotions were a little out of control. Notice how you're feeling. Put yourself into that situation. How do you feel in your body? And on a scale of 1 to 10, a scale of anxiousness, a scale of anxiety, how do you feel in this moment? Scale of 1 to 10. And if that feeling of anxiety or tension had a color, what would that color be? Whatever comes to mind is exactly right. Now recall that color that represents peace and tranquility. Once again, breathe in that color, allowing it to infuse every part of your body, and breathe out that color that represents anxiousness, stress, tension. Continue with another breath in. Breathe in the color of peace and harmony. Have fun with this in your mind. Let it infuse your whole being. And exhale that color that represents stress, tension, anxiety. Now check in with your body in this very moment. On a scale of 1 to 10, where would you place yourself in terms of feeling anxious? And know that this simple technique, breathing in a color of peace, tranquility, and harmony, breathing out a color that represents stress, tension, and anxiety, within 2 breaths, within 60 seconds, you have the power to regulate your nervous system, get in touch with a deeper, more resourceful part of yourself and your mind, better able to handle any drama that pops up. Once again, take your awareness to the surface beneath you. That gentle sense of gravity holding you. As that awareness fades, you once again send another wave of relaxation along with that color that represents harmony and peace, all the way from the top of your head down to the bottom of your feet. 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to count back from 3 to 1. 3. Imagining that color more vivid than ever that represents harmony and peace for you. 2. Becoming aware of that color infusing every part of your body, relaxing you even further. and wiggling your toes, wiggling your fingers, one coming right back with us, full conscious awareness in Subconscious Sundays. Thank you for joining us for the hypnotic meditation.
Wow, that was rad. I loved it.
Yeah, good. I just want to provide some very simple things. These work for me. These work for people who I've taught it to. Just relaxing your tongue and this 2-breath hypnosis technique. Have fun with it. Let us know how it works for you.
Absolutely. Drop us a comment below. And also just remember that in all things, according to A Course in Miracles and the teachers, the great teachers of the world religions, forgiveness and atonement are the biggest bringers of peace and miracles in our lives. So even if drama enters your life and passes you by in ways that are unsatisfactory or bring anxiety and shame into you, into your heart, have compassion for yourself and anybody else in that situation, and remain within that favorite self, in that divine self, as someone willing to forgive yourself and others and willing to atone for the ways that you have created problems and conflict for others. And in this way, if we're able to do that, we're able to perform miracles. I truly believe that. Yeah. So thanks for being with us today. And as Tim mentioned before, we are available to meet with you one-on-one. Both of us have space available for one-on-one or even group work. If there's a group of you, be it like coworkers or an organization that you're a part of, we're available for that work as well. We've been getting some inquiries about that throughout our careers. So figured we'd mention it here. But for the one-on-one work, there is a link in every description of every video that we produce that allows you to meet with us for free as an introductory session. It gives you a chance to see what we're about, see if we're fit for what you need and get your needs met, and allow you the chance to engage more deeply with what it is that Tim does, which is hypnotherapy, and myself, which is spiritual guidance. So if you're looking to work with the self in ways that are more spiritually, more spiritual framework, that's what I'm here for. So book time to talk with either or both of us. And we remain available to you to do so. And we will see you next week. We've got 2 more episodes before we conclude the season. And we really look forward to the opportunity to meet with you these last couple times live on Sunday evenings for evening for me, morning for you, Tim, and all points in between for all of our viewers. And we are also going to have some ideas for how we are going to come together in the future for more episodes. So stay tuned with us, and we'll see you next week.